Welcome to Growth Uncut, a podcast that talks to different people around the world, really focusing on upgrades in justice. So we are currently kind of pushing this campaign all around Justice 2.0 and how we can create a more human-centered, compassionate, research-informed, trauma-informed society and justice system globally. And today I'm really pleased to be joined by Bev. And please introduce yourself. Tell us all about you.
Hi, Sarah. My name is Beverley Wall, and I'm the Director General of the Northern Ireland Prison Service.
Wonderful. And today we're going to be talking about leadership. So let's think a little bit about maybe some of the things that need an upgrade. What do you feel are those challenges that leaders are kind of facing at the minute in justice, in prisons, from your perspective?
I think within the justice system, most of us are struggling to cope with an ever-increasing prison population, a prison population with increasing complexity and insufficient public funding to meet those challenges. Then when you couple that with what I see as a growing public expectation for stiffer sentences, and people spending longer within prison, that's difficult for leaders within prisons to respond to.
Yeah. And in terms of, we talked a lot about your new approach, the way in which you're challenging that. What are the new ways in which you're looking at leadership, would you say?
I've approached those challenges very much making sure that we listen, that we take the time to listen to our staff, we listen to people in prison, and that we challenge ourselves around our thinking. And then from the evidence that we get from others, being prepared to do things differently, being prepared to take different and bold steps in how we both support staff and support people whilst they're in prison and getting ready to leave prison.
Yeah. And in terms of the changes that approach has kind of translated into practice, can you share with us a little bit about some of the things that have happened as a result of that extra listening, that seeing and hearing people that are either leading or working or even living in prisons?
I try to spend as much time as I can on the ground within our prisons, listening to staff, talking to staff. But we also did that formally through a staff survey, the first designed by staff survey for the prison service in Northern Ireland. And then there was some difficult reading within that survey, some real challenges presented within that survey, but then developing staff focus groups to develop the responses to that, as opposed to as a senior team developing the responses. We involve staff from the outset in that. So some of the changes we've made, we've looked at our recruitment. Our recruitment processes weren't working. Staff were arriving, being recruited into the prison service who didn't really understand the realities or the complexities of the role. So we've completely changed that. Work with staff to redesign our recruitment processes and our advertising campaign, and then changed how we train staff and expanded the amount of time we spend training staff. So we've moved from a 9-week to a 12-week training program. We listened to staff feedback who said to us, it was a culture shock to jump from prison service college straight into your first posting. So all of our new recruits spend 2 weeks working on the landing that they will eventually be assigned to in that shadowing role before they arrive as a brand new recruit onto that landing. And we've also, again, taken feedback from those new recruits and put in place mentors for all staff for that first year. When they're getting to grips with a new role, we've put in place those mentors. Also listen to staff around the support they needed, because in my view, prison staff do the most challenging public sector roles there are. And they're difficult jobs. They're really worthwhile roles, but they're difficult. So we listen to staff around the support they need, and we've expanded the support we provide to staff for counselling support for themselves. And we're just starting off, again, from feedback from staff, piloting some staff counselling, some group counselling sessions within Maghaberry Prison. And if those go well, we're going to offer those out right across our establishments and with our prisoner escort and court custody service, because it's really important that staff feel they are supported and get the support they need to do what is a very difficult job.
And do you feel at this stage, and I appreciate it might be really early on in terms of these changes, but are you seeing any impact?
Seeing staff more engaged, seeing staff feeling that they have a role and that they have a voice. one of the most interesting things when we went out first talking to staff and staff focus groups, staff were nervous about, why are you talking to us? What's the hidden motive? And now, I think as we do more of that, people get more comfortable and more confident in speaking up and speaking out, and then putting their hand up to say, I want to be involved in the focus groups and the staff groups that change this thing that we don't like, and, make sure it meets our needs.
Yeah. Wonderful. It literally does sound like an upgrade, which is lovely. And there's a lots of values in there, isn't there, in terms of, seeing people, hearing people. Talk to me a little bit about your values around leadership. What do you think is really important in terms of how we look at leadership more broadly?
I think for any leader looking at an organisation and leading any organisation, it's important that you understand the role that you're asking people to do, that you're prepared to walk in their shoes, and that they know that you're here to listen to them and support them, but also to make the difficult changes, the difficult decisions, and that they have faith in you that you will make those difficult decisions when they need to be made.
Yeah.
And certainly, as we are in and right across public sector, not just Northern Ireland, right across the UK, those challenges of not enough money to do what we'd all like to do. It's about, as a leader, advocating for the work of the prison service, advocating for our staff, but also advocating for people in prison who don't have a voice, whose voice has, in many cases, been removed. So it's making sure that their voice is heard and that they get the support they need, and that we advocate to get them the support they need, not just while they're in prison, but as they prepare for release and as they reintegrate back into communities. And that's been, as a leader for me, the most difficult challenge in getting other parts of government to see that they have a role in justice and the value of getting upstream with many of the interventions, so that we stop people coming into prison who shouldn't be in prison. And we see that every day, every day. And every time I'm in a prison, I will see someone and think, and why are you in prison? You shouldn't be here. You should have had the support in your community wrapped around you to stop you coming into prison and to stop the impact that this will have on your life.
When we think about people being seen, it's really interesting that there's a lot of work, particularly in England, about, officers being trained in trauma-informed work, and then middle managers being trained in trauma-informed work, and those kind of principles and how to be responsive to that. But also, I think, emerging this idea of trauma-informed leadership, isn't it? I'm incredibly excited about our new opportunity where we're going to hopefully be co-creating a programme for your leaders that manage and lead those governing governors, but how it needs to go across the whole system, from yourself all the way down to that person in that room who's living in prison. If there was an upgrade there, do you feel that there's still upgrades to be done that could really create that consistent piece?
Yeah, because we've done some work internally with the Safeguarding Board for Northern Ireland, looking at where we are as a trauma-informed organisation. And we're very much a trauma-aware organisation, but in all our policies and procedures, we are not there yet in respect of being trauma-informed. So we are certainly on that journey. But I think in tandem with that, what we need to be able to be aware of, what is the impact of trauma on those people who are in prison in Northern Ireland currently? And some research was done recently in Northern Ireland around adverse childhood experiences and the impact that has had on the wider Northern Ireland population. So I'm really excited that we've now brought those academics and researchers into the Northern Ireland prison system, and they've done that research amongst people in prison in Northern Ireland. So we'll get the findings of that research later this year. But that, I think, will really help us on that journey to becoming a trauma-informed organisation, because I'm hopeful that the research will assist us in how we continue to develop and shape rehabilitation services within the prison setting to support the people here with us.
And raising that awareness in the community, right? So that maybe that empathy can be built around, things have happened to individuals that has been really difficult for them to cope with. And that may be some of the reasons why they're behaving the way they are. So hopefully that will bring, a new pace and a new opportunity in terms of raising awareness through that kind of campaign.
Absolutely.
What about for you? If you think about those that have inspired you in terms of leadership, the values that you see in them, can you tell us a little bit about who's inspired you?
Yeah, I've been around the block a long time. Been in public service most of my career. So, over 30 years in public service in Northern Ireland, and learned a lot from leaders and, aspire to be like many of the people I've had the privilege of working with over those years. And the key qualities I see that I value and hope that I can demonstrate are those of being supportive of others, being not afraid to stand up and speak, particularly within the public sector, to stand up and speak that truth to power and deliver those hard messages around whatever the issue is that you're working with, and speak for others and on behalf of others that you work with around what needs to change when you see change that needs to happen.
Yeah, lovely. And I think there's something there about that collaboration piece. And I know that since we've known each other, we've had opportunities, and you've talked about how valuable it is to get other prison leaders in the room and to being able to kind of thrash out challenges and also celebrate the successes and the progress and the achievements. And we have, I guess, 2 opportunities for the folks that are listening. 3 September 2026, we've obviously got the Leadership Summit over in Vienna, where you're coming to talk, but you're also going to be part of a number of leaders that are going to talk a little bit about how we can grow leadership and upgrade it and work together on that. But also the ICPA is being hosted in Belfast. So if people are interested in coming to see some of the amazing, inspiring work that's taking place over in Northern Ireland, then please sign up. You can do a day ticket. You don't have to do a full week's ticket. But from my perspective, I think I spent a lot of time in Norwegian prisons for 3 years, and they were the things that changed my life in terms of this is what prisons could be. This is the meaning that they could bring. And the first time I went to Highbank Wood was the first time I was just like, it was just exactly what it needed to be in terms of those principles of growth, in terms of, it wasn't Norway, it was ours, like as a community, as a collective. And it's possible. It's possible in this context. A lot of people say you can't possibly pick it up and put it somewhere else. But the values that you're talking about here, I saw that throughout, from the guy who had his pet dog to the goats to the beautiful space you have for staff. All of that stuff not only inspires myself and my team, but also the cohorts that come to visit and train on the Growth Project. And I imagine all the people that you're inundated with in terms of visitors, because you and your team have turned it around in such an amazing way. And that must feel really proud. Do you feel a sense of pride when you show Highbank Wood to people?
Absolutely. Proud of all our staff across prisons in Northern Ireland. We're a very small prison system, and that comes with challenges, but I think it also gives us the opportunity to change quite quickly. When we see that change needs to happen, we can turn that around quite quickly. And, in terms of prison inspections, both Highbank Wood and McGilligan Prison have both scored really highly in recent prison inspections. And inspectors have commented on the leadership within both of those prison establishments. So, the governors of those establishments and their senior teams and all the staff within them just doing an outstanding job. And Magabry, our largest prison, our most complex prison, because that's high security, remand, sentenced, separated terrorist prisoners. It's a really complex prison, and I see the work that staff do there every day, but it's the commitment. You see the commitment, the compassion, and the confidence within those teams to, when they see something needs fixed, or they talk to others and talk to partners that we work with in vulnerable community sector, healthcare, psychology teams, how quickly they will affect that change. But I suppose all of that comes with the caveat that those changes are becoming increasingly difficult for our staff to deliver as our prison population continues to rise and the funding that we receive to deliver services continues to reduce. So whilst our teams do an outstanding work, there comes a point where there's a limit. And I feel we're very close to that limit, and that we can't continue to affect change and deliver meaningful rehabilitation at the pace and the rate we've done it if we don't see a reduction in that prison population, and coupled with that, an increase in funding to deliver those services and support those services.
And that, I guess the damage of doing nothing and the damage of those figures going up and that investment going down in some senses is they've tasted some of the magic, right? Like when we've got it right, when we've believed in it, when we fought for it, we've created it. And then for those pressures that are outside of their control to impact on the way in which they feel coming to work, to me, that's moral injury a little bit and feeling disillusioned with the service that was once there. And I kind of think to do so well and to get that far, it's an incredible achievement. But like you say, those outside conditions need to be in place as well to maintain that change, right?
Yeah. I think you get to a stage where you feel like we're abusing our staff. We so reliant on our staff who do fabulous work. They are a really resilient group of people. I think there's something really special about prison officers and their compassion, their empathy, their resilience. But you can abuse that. And I fear that if we keep being asked to keep those doors of our prisons open, to keep taking in numbers at a greater level than we know we can hold safely and securely, then we do that damage to our staff. And I don't want us to get to that position where we are causing harm to our staff.
That's it. That's it. And that only feeds down into those that you're serving, right? And
Absolutely.
therefore into the local community. So it's not like it just stops. Thank you so much. We are, as a collective community that are going to ICPA, I think we are all incredibly excited to come to Belfast and experience the ICPA there 2026. We will continue to follow and support all of the wonderful work that you're doing over in Northern Ireland. And yeah, I guess just publicly thank you for all the support you give us and our organisation in terms of the training venues and the prison visits and just spending time to connect and talk about reform. So you are an inspiration as well. My inspiration is you. So it's a real privilege to have you on the podcast.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks, Sarah. And we're really looking forward. We love working with you. Really looking forward to continuing that working relationship and that great relationship we've built. And please think about coming to ICPA in October, an opportunity for us to share with you all the work we're doing and for people to get an opportunity to come inside our prisons and see the work we're doing there, meet staff, talk to people living there, hear about the work we're doing.
Yeah. And if you're not massive on bigger crowds, I think there is an online option as well, but also Vienna, I can't wait to get together. It's going to have an awful lot of wonderful leaders there talking about how we can collaborate to make a difference. We've got Olivia Rhodes there, we've got Europris there, we've got lots and lots of different speakers. So yeah, I look forward to seeing you back end of the year. And yes, thank you so much. And thank you folks for listening. If you want to learn more about Justice 2.0, visit our website on www.growtransformbelong.com. And please think about your upgrades that you want and get in touch with us to see how we can support you in pushing those forward in whatever way you work, whether it's public health, whether it's in your local shop. There's always opportunities to understand justice a bit more and to support those that are being released and preventing those to going to prison in the first place. So yeah, we're all part of the solution. So thanks, Beverley. Really appreciate you. And yeah, thanks for joining us.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.